When we browse the web, we're really only scratching the surface. It's like seeing just the tip of an iceberg. So today, we're going to dive deep, way down into that hidden part, the dark web. We're going to explore the world of the modern hackers who live in those shadows and figure out what it all means for us.
So, what's really lurking down there beneath the internet we all use every day? Well, it's this huge, hidden layer that kind of plays by its own set of rules. Think of it like a digital Wild West, you know? It's a place that attracts everyone, from the worst criminals to political activists.
All right, so here's our game plan for this explainer. First, we'll get a handle on what this digital abyss really is. Then, we'll build a profile of the modern hacker. Who are these people? We'll check out their tools, dive into the dark web's marketplace, and then, and this is crucial, see how it all impacts the real world. And we'll wrap up by tackling a really tough question. Is everyone there just a bad guy?
Okay, first things first, let's talk about the digital abyss. We need to get a clear picture of this hidden world where these hackers do their thing.
So, the dark web, it's literally built for secrecy. I mean, you can't just stumble upon it using Google. Nope. You need special software, stuff like Tor, that basically makes you a ghost online. It hides who you are, where you're from, making it the perfect place to operate in the shadows. Remember that iceberg analogy? This really drives it home. Everything you know, Google, social media, all of it, that's just the tiny tip sticking out of the water. Beneath the surface, that's the dark web. It's massive, it's not indexed by any search engine, it's designed for total anonymity, and believe me, it is a completely different digital universe.
All right, so that's the where. Now for the who. Who are these modern hackers really? You gotta forget the movie stereotypes, because the reality is way more complex. Let's build a real profile.
First things first, we've got to ditch that Hollywood image. You know the one? The lone wolf in a dark hoodie, hunched over a keyboard with glowing green code flying across the screen. Yeah, that whole picture, it completely misses the point.
The reality is, a successful dark web hacker isn't just some tech whiz. Sure, they're often brilliant when it comes to cybersecurity, no doubt about it. But their real power? Oh, that comes from mixing technical skill with a deep, almost scary understanding of human psychology. They know how people think, what makes them click, just as well as they know how to write code.
Okay, so if that's who they are, let's talk about how they do it. Let's look at their tools of the trade. What are the essential skills that make them so darn effective?
And this breaks down their strategy perfectly. See, it often starts with some serious programming chops, creating malware and automating their attacks. Then, of course, they use heavy-duty encryption to cover their tracks and stay completely anonymous. But here's the real kicker. Social engineering. They can manipulate people to just give them passwords, bypassing all the tech defenses without writing a single extra line of code. And to top it off, they are absolute masters at finding and exploiting the tiny vulnerabilities in the software we use every single day.
Now, when you have all those skills floating around, what happens? An entire underground economy springs up. So let's take a look at the dark web marketplace.
This is where those skills get turned into cash. On the dark web, you can literally buy and sell hacked accounts, malware kits, even a hacker's time. It's all treated like a commodity. And what that means is that even a totally unskilled person can buy the tools they need to launch a really sophisticated attack. It's cybercrime as a service. And the stuff for sale? It's absolutely shocking. Someone can buy a ransomware kit for a few bucks and use it to cripple a hospital's entire computer system. Think about that. Or a company could hire a hacker on the down low for some corporate espionage. We're talking about hacking as a service here. The potential for real-world damage is just immense. And this right here is the most important part to understand. All this stuff happening in the shadows, it doesn't stay in the shadows. It spills out and has a massive impact on the real world, on our world. And don't think for a second this is just a problem for some giant corporation. No way. This affects everyone. Individuals like you and me. We're talking identity theft, losing money, businesses are getting hit with huge data breaches, and even governments are constantly defending against attacks on critical infrastructure. The consequences here are just devastating. You've got data breaches that cost companies millions of dollars. You have ransomware attacks that shut down hospitals, literally putting people's lives at risk. You've got identity theft that can follow a person for years. And the scary part, with the rise of AI, these attacks are only getting faster, bigger, and more effective.
But hold on a second. Is every single person on the dark web with these skills a criminal? Well, the answer, it's actually way more complicated than you might think. Let's explore those blurry lines.
This is so interesting because you see how the very same tool, anonymity, can be used for completely opposite reasons. On one hand, yeah, you have the cybercriminal. Their motivation is simple: money, maybe a little bit of chaos. But on the other hand, you have what people call a hacktivist. They use the exact same skills, but their goal isn't personal gain. They're trying to expose corruption or fight censorship. They're driven by politics or a specific ethical code.
And this quote really nails the central paradox, doesn't it? The same tools that allow for awful crimes are also used by some to fight for privacy, to expose wrongdoing, to hold powerful people accountable. That line between what's activism and what's just plain illegal, it's incredibly thin. And honestly, people argue about it all the time.
So that leaves us with one last big question to think about. In a world that's literally built on code, who gets to draw that line between crime and conscious? It's a really blurry distinction, and it's a question that's only going to get more and more important as our lives become more digital. Thanks for diving into this with me.